Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the School Climate Survey webinar. We're about to get started. Oops. This will be for about 1 to 3. We'll see if we start a little early or end a little early. But while we're waiting, if you could update your Zoom name to first name, or last initial, and then LEA name. That way, as I help and as we're helping each other, we know who we're talking with. Because this will be the technical setup. And then also, while we wait, if you could begin to log into your LEA Qualtrics account if you have not already. Also, just checking in as we're waiting, how is the volume? Can everyone hear me? Are there other issues you think? Thumbs up and down would be great. Great, thanks for letting me know. Again, welcome for those of y'all that are joining us today. As we are waiting, we'll give everyone a few minutes. Please update your Zoom name to your first name, last initial, and then your LEA name. That way, when we get to the technical setup, I can also answer questions a little bit easier. And then lastly, I think as we are waiting, I will go ahead and begin to get some links for us to look at here. Welcome all again. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day today to come to the School Climate Survey Technical Setup webinar. We'll be going through quite a few things. We've budgeted about 2 hours of time. I'm projecting maybe more about 90 minutes, but we know we'll take however long it needs to. And if we run out of time today, I will obviously be here for additional support and we can set up that time, additional time as needed. So again, just maybe about 1 more minute and then we'll get started soon. So for those of you that haven't already, please again update your Zoom name to your first name initial, your LEA name, and try and log into your Qualtrics account.
Hey, Melissa, this is Brent up at South Summit. Shouldn't we got an email with some files in it for this?
I'm about to send it, Brent. We
Okay.
had some last minute technical issues, so unfortunately the link is being sent out a little later than usual. So we appreciate your patience on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so it's already 1:02. Let's go ahead and get started because we understand y'all are very busy. So as we start today, again, thanks so much for joining us. For those of you who just joined, again, please update first name, last initial, LA name. That way it'd be easier to answer some more technical questions. And if you haven't already, log into your LEA Qualtrics account. If for some reason right now you are having issues logging into your LEA Qualtrics account, just watch this webinar today. Will be recorded. We'll share out the materials afterwards, and we can always troubleshoot later. Some important dates to know. Starting today after the webinar and through March 7 on Friday, this is going to be about a 2.5-week trial window for those of y'all that remember this. And if for those of you new to this, this is where we're going to test the survey to make sure that it is working on your end. And then there's going to be the live survey where it will go live on the Monday following March 10 through Friday, May 2nd. So those are the dates you need to be mindful of. We'll show them again later. And just for some housekeeping things, throughout the training today, Melissa's going to facilitate most of the questions in the Q&A feature. But if you do have questions, let me know too, and I'll also try to answer them. And as always, check your spam folder for emails from the school safety programs at schools.utah.gov if you think you're missing anything. Otherwise, my name is Willie Trent. I'm the school safety data analyst that helps oversee the school climate survey. And otherwise, let's talk about what's the next thing on the agenda. So what we'll do is we'll first go over some introductions, see who's the same faces, new faces, and then I wanted to provide some legislative changes. The technical setup portion is where we're going to go in and set up the school climate survey. And then we'll talk about some good practices on distributing the survey, some FAQs, and then some resources. So before we do the introductions, any other questions regarding like setup or sound? Great, move on. So again, I'm Willie Chen. I'm the school safety analyst that you may have remembered me, or if not, I'm a new face to you that helps set up the school climate survey that USBE sponsors and is that we are required to offer, but you are not necessarily required to take. Win Shooter is the USBE Qualtrics brand manager. He couldn't be here today, but if you have any questions, you can just send them to me first, and then if needed to, I can always forward that email to him. And also today we have with us our Qualtrics representative, Nathan Jensen. And our Merkle representative isn't here today, but he's pretty cozy and he helps set up a lot of the API. So I think, Nathan, I will turn it over to you.
Sure thing. Thanks, Willie. I'm Nathan Jensen. Like Willie mentioned, I'm your customer success manager. So my job is to make sure that anyone who wants to use Qualtrics within USBE has the access and skills and abilities to use it. So just here mostly today to say hi, give you guys a picture of me so you know who I am, and you can reach out in the future if you have any questions about how to use Qualtrics. And then on this page, I did want to just point out that that's my email. You can reach out to me about, a variety of questions. But if you have any kind of how-to questions, or if you're ever curious about, hey, I want to make a survey and I've never done that before, I would suggest starting at the Qualtrics Customer Success Hub. That's where you can submit tickets to our support team. The only reason I say that is they are much faster at responding to stuff than me. I have meetings and stuff like that, so sometimes I'm not able to respond to an email immediately like our support team. Yeah, but any other questions for the team on what I do and who I am?
Thanks so much, Nathan. We really appreciate your support here. His support has been really integral to help setting up the school climate survey to make sure it goes really smoothly for y'all. So again, thank you so much.
Of course.
So let's start with the fun stuff, legislative changes, because as a lot of y'all may have heard, quite a few things had happened the past 2024 legislative session that affected the school climate survey. So the first thing that you may be aware of is LEAs are no longer required to administer the model school climate survey that USBE offers. In the past, this was mandatory. Now it is no longer. LEAs now have to do, or what you can do now is you can opt in to administer the model school climate survey that is supported by USBE. Or what you can do is choose another school climate survey that you or your LEA would prefer. So, there's other options out there. This is what the main meat of the legislation that changed. Again, if you do decide to administer the model school climate survey, we will be here to provide support. The thing is, though, LEAs still need to have their school discipline policies be informed and updated by data obtained by some regular safety or health related survey. So It just doesn't have to be the model school climate survey anymore. So that's probably the largest change that has happened. Oop, I thought there was one more thing. Okay, so I think the last thing then to before we get into the technical setup that I want to have you'll be mindful of is, again, everyone here today who's registered, we're under the assumption that you've already got parent consent at the beginning of this year. That was one of the other legislative changes. If you did not receive parent consent at the beginning of this year during student registration, you cannot administer the school climate survey. So that's just something to be mindful of. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started on the technical setup. So in the link or in the chat, I am sharing the Google Drive folder with the resources. And so I'm going to start Xing out of this PowerPoint and kind of going around. And when you click the link, what you'll need to be mindful of, please, when you click on the link, you're going to go to the LEA resources folder. So let me go that to there with you. And it should look like this. And specifically, we're going to start to set up now the Qualtrics, the survey in Qualtrics. So again, make sure you're logged into Qualtrics, because as soon as we get orientated here, we will get into Qualtrics. So when you go into this folder, as in the past, this is the resources that your LEA will need for the 2025 administration. The first folder is the parent letters that we had provided in the past, that opt-in, but what we've also did this time is a reminder letter for the spring, right? So you can see here, this is the registration one that we sent back in August, but this one that says spring is, again, just a general reminder to your community that, hey, you're about to give the school climate survey. And if for some reason your parent changed their mind, this gives you that opportunity to just double check your boxes and make sure that you are able to administer the survey to the right students. So that's what the parent letter folder is. And we are working on to see if there's a Spanish translation for this letter, but we at least have the Spanish translation for the initial opt-in form from the registration. There's also a copy of the survey questions that will be available eventually. Currently, they are also publicly available on our website. But what's also going to be helpful is you'll have your proctoring instructions when your proctors will administer the student surveys. And then also everything here today will be in this Google Doc, and we'll also provide the webinar slides. So you'll have two formats for your viewing pleasure. You can have it via Google Doc like this, or again, on this website, this webinar PowerPoint will be shared. So lastly, we have this embedded data here that we're going to use when we start setting up the survey in Qualtrics. So any questions here on what the materials are for the LA resources? Great. We're going to look into the QSF files for importing today. There is going to be 4 files, but you may not necessarily need all 4. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into Qualtrics, and I'm going to start to walk you through on how to set up the survey. A lot of this is going to be very familiar for those of you that set it up before. There's just maybe some slight changes. And for those that are new, again, feel free to ask questions as we're doing this. So I guess my first question is everyone logged into Qualtrics? Do you need a little bit more time? Okay, I'm going to take that as we're going to go ahead. Oh, did I hear a question?
Yes, I need a little bit more time.
Okay, that's fine.
Logged in right now.
Yeah, that's fine. So you should at least right now be on your home screen for Qualtrics. And while we're waiting, you are welcome to download those QSF files that you saw in the LEA resources folder. Let me get back to that. Let's see. Today, I'm going to demonstrate with the adults QSF file. If you are, because if you remember, there are 4 versions of the school climate survey. There is the kindergarten through 2nd grade, the 3rd through 5th grade with an asterisk, and we'll talk about that more, 6th through 12th grade version, and then the adults version. So some districts will only be using the adults, some may only be using certain grade levels. And that was one of the effects of the legislative change from House Bill 182, the school survey amendments, where in the past you had to administer the survey to every single member in your school community. Now with the passage of House Bill 182, you can administer the parts of the survey that you want. And so again, just for now, for today's demo, I'm going to demonstrate the adults API survey. Oh, we have a question. If we did not send out consent for parent opt-in at the beginning of the year, is it too late? You are technically not, you should not be administering the survey for this spring. That is correct. So you can at least listen in and administer it for the following year. Originally, it's supposed to be every other year, 2025 to 2027. I can share that the board, the rule that is overseeing the school climate survey, the board rule is up for consideration being amended or not because of those changes from House Bill 182. So there's a possibility that we can administer it next year and maybe every year instead of every other year. So I hope that answers your question, Stephanie. Let me know if that did not. So again, just to clarify, you do need to have that parent consent at the beginning of this year. If you do not have it, you are not supposed to be administering this survey. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And again, this will be recorded. So if you fall a little behind, that's okay. This will be here for you. So the first thing then is I've already downloaded the QSF files, but I'm just going to go ahead and go through the motions so you can see it. So I'm going to download this. Scan for viruses, that's fine. And it's downloaded. Great. Now here's the first thing I want to make sure you're aware of. Do not open this file. Just download it. If you've opened it, you might run into some issues. So we'll see if we need to troubleshoot it. So just for now, download the file that you need to download. If you're going to be administering to all the grade groups and adults, download all of them. That's fine. So that's the first step. Once you've downloaded the files, you're going to go into your Qualtrics account and create a new project. This is usually at the bottom left of your screen. May take a little while to load. And then you're going to click Survey on the From Scratch portion. And then at the bottom right here, you'll click Get Started. I'm not quite sure why they decided to move all the buttons around. Okay, so this is where we're going to start to create the surveys. And what we're doing right now is when you've downloaded the survey, we're going to set it up in your account so that when the responses come in, you get the data, but USB-E also gets the data too. So that's why it's this kind of technical setup process that's a little bit more complicated than usual instead of a usual Qualtrics link. So for this example today, I'm just going to say USB-E because that's me. But for you, you'll have your LEA name. So is it Alpine? Is it Advantage Arts? Whatever your LEA name is. I'm going to say this is the adults survey. And this is the 2025 school climate survey. So name it in a way that you will be able to find this and identify this, and you won't get it mixed up with the other previous versions of the school climate survey that may already be in your account. And then here's the important part. After you've named it, How do you want to start your survey? This is the reason why we downloaded that QSF. You're going to import a QSF file. And now you're going to find that file that you've downloaded. And you can see here, this is the file that I had. I'm going to select it. The adults is what I chose. You may have chosen the other grades. Then just choose your grades that's needed, open it. And then you can see now that it's been uploaded. And then I'm going to click Create Project. So questions on this part right now before I click Create Project. This is where it has been a bit tricky for some people. You just need to download the QSF file. Don't open the QSF file. Okay, I'm going to click Create. Again, just ask any questions in the Q&A. Let me know if I'm going too fast. I just want to make sure we're all relatively on the same page. So I'm going to create the project now. And you see it took a while. The adult survey is the largest survey. So that'll be the thing. And now you can see you have these school survey questions all here. Or for whichever version that you chose. So the next thing then that you need to do once that has been set up. Oops. My apologies on that. Where did my screen go? Okay. Where did it go? We're going to set up the embedded data. So what happens is we've uploaded the file, but the way it's set up now, the data still needs to be reported into USB-E. If you gave them survey today, we would not be able to determine which LEA has submitted responses. So we are going to now go into the embedded data portion and enter in that information. That way, when people start taking this survey, we know, okay, Murray District, these are Murray District responses from our end. And then, but you will still have the responses. So what you'll do is, where'd it go? You're going to go to the second icon here underneath survey. It's called Survey Flow. And again, it might take a while to load just because, again, we are dealing with quite a large file here for the adults school climate survey. And you'll see right in the middle, there's this green box here. And where it says click here and type in your name, you will type in your LEA name. Now, to make this a little easier though, I do have some guidelines. That way it's easier for USB-E to track which LEA it is. So if you could type your LEA name, and I'll put this link in the chat as well. If you could type your LEA name as seen in the embedded data. So for example, I know if I was Ames, it'd be really tempting to type AMES, but for the sake of documentation, please type in your full name, right? Same thing with like Beehive Science and Technology Academy, please type in your full name. Or American Academy, please type your full name, Alpine District. So again, I put that link in the chat, find your LEA as it is, do a quick copy paste. For me, I'll just say again, USB-E. Oops. It's okay if you accidentally messed up. You just click it again, USB-E. And I'm just going to put test for me because I know this is going to be test. So I'll give you all a few moments. Oh, okay. is it, so for Summit Academy, do you at least have where it says LEA name and then this equals set value? Does it say set value instead? Hathaway, can you hear me? Okay, so it says set a value now. You should still be able to click that set value. And you should still get this like prompt here that you can edit. Custom value is fine too. That should be fine. The main thing is it's going to be on this right side, the first line.
Hey, Willie, I think that she should be able to talk now. I enabled that for her to.
Okay.
So anyone that needs to unmute for a question should be able to if she wants to check it again.
Are you able to, were you able to change that value halfway? As we're troubleshooting this, please do not touch the session link and do not touch the API token. Also, just to troubleshoot, make sure this part on the left side of this equal sign stays as LEA name. In the past, there's been some LEAs who accidentally changed it to the wrong one, so it needs to be the right side. Ooh, insert pipe text. I'm not sure then what you're clicking. And if you could, maybe you might need to pause there. And if you have some time after I go through the rest of the technical setup, I can help troubleshoot that with you. So I'm not sure why it's saying insert pipe text because you do not need to be inserting a pipe text. Other than that, are there any other issues that have happened? Once you've got that embedded data, at the very bottom of your screen, you're going to click apply. And again, it'll take a while because for me, this is a bigger survey. And you'll notice now this is grayed out. So that means I know that this has updated. So then for the next part, we've set up the embedded data. And what we're going to do then, after setting up the embedded data, is this is the part where it's going to be a little bit of back and forth. We have some time today, but you're going to go to the survey portion, this clipboard, and we are needing to now confirm that you've set it up correctly on your end by generating some test responses. And the way you're going to generate a test response is you'll go to this part here that says tools. And you'll see the item that says generate test response. Now, before you start clicking everything else, you'll notice it says 5 test responses to generate. Please do not do that. Your computer will probably give you the wheel of death. Change that to the number 1. So again, let me just show you how to get here again. You're going to go to tools, generate test responses, and change that 5 to a 1. Once that's happened, you can click generate. And this is the part where it may take a while, depending on if you have, again, like me, the adult survey or the 6 through 12 survey. And when I say a while, at most, this will be about, I'm hoping no more than 3 to 5 minutes, but it will take a bit. And then what's going to happen then is before we sign off today, I can at least confirm if I got your responses. Any questions on this part here about changing that 5 to a 1? You want to make sure it's a 1. Otherwise, again, it's gonna make an error message on you. So while I'm waiting for that, I am going to go ahead and see if I can already see some of your test responses, depending on if you have a shorter survey. So this is just me on my end now. This is going to be the... Still generating here. And I can tell that this has not come through yet. You'll see some of the past tests that I've done. This is a different test that I did, but this is what, if we set it up correctly today, I should be able to see your LEA name for the survey that you've done. So later today, when we start to wrap up, you'll need to share with me which LEA surveys to look out for, or which versions that you chose. Melissa, I do have a question for you. Are participants allowed to share their screen?
Let me check on that for you.
Okay. Because when I help Hathaway later, I probably better for me to see her screen. Okay.
They
you
are
can
now
see-
marked. They should be able to share their screen now.
Okay, perfect. So Hathaway, later I will try and troubleshoot that with you. So you can see here now I've generated my test response and it's great. So I'm going to close this out. And so since I did the adults, I'm going to refresh this and check to see if I got the response. Maybe it might take a little longer. I'll refresh again. I'll keep on refreshing. Well, it has decided not to refresh. Okay. Well, in general, that is the process that you will need to do for each survey. So if your LE is going to be administering it to your 3rd through 5th graders or your 6th through 12th graders, then you're going to do that for each survey as well and generate one test response. And let me try one more time to see if I can get that. Okay, thank you, Peter. I will make sure to check responses for all 4 versions. Other than that, see if I can see it one more time. If I'm hoping, I want y'all to see this, but oh, well, okay, so it won't happen, but at least this is what it would look like, right? And then instead of test USB, it would say your LEA name, and then I would send an email to confirm, yes, USB is getting the responses as appropriate. And once you've done that, what you'll then do later, once I've sent that confirmation to you, because it does need to be confirmed on our end, is then you can delete the test responses. Obviously, don't delete it now because I haven't confirmed everyone yet. But when you start to delete the responses, what you'll do is, and I can show you this later, you'll go into the data analysis tab, click the generated responses that you've, again, they're those fake responses, select all that's needed and hit the delete button. And the tricky thing here is to make sure you remember to click all these options before you actually delete it in order to permanently delete. The way this could look is, let me see if I can show you, because I did generate a response. So, okay, so here's my test survey, right? And when I go into the data analysis tab, you'll see that, okay, there was one response. So it's uploading that response. And let's just assume that, okay, USB is confirmed, that we've received the responses. And so in order to delete it, again, you don't delete it yet for y'all because I still need to confirm it. But it will be almost there. 99% complete. There we go. Okay, so here's the generated response, and I would click this here to select all. Trash can, click both, and then delete one response. So that is how you will delete your test response once I've confirmed that USB has received your submission. And I'm actually curious if this ever did receive, since I did generate a response. Oh well, okay, it has not. So while y'all are generating responses, I just wanted to wrap the webinar with some general guidelines when you distribute the survey. To maximize the quantity and the quality of the responses for the school climate survey, all stakeholder groups need to have an equal opportunity to respond to the survey and make sure that it's accessible to them. So the first thing to be mindful of is that use the anonymous link to share the survey. If you need to find that anonymous link, these anonymous links are going to be under the distribution tab here. And you will, where'd it go? Get a single reusable link. I'm not sure why this one's happening for his. Oops. Sorry. You'll get that anonymous link here. And this is what you will be sending out to your community members for them to take the survey. And this anonymous link will be there for all 4 survey versions. I've also put in the webinar slideshow, some resources from Qualtrics. If you have trouble with the anonymous link, again, I'm also here to help provide support. You can also provide the link through a parent portal, send your email listservs, a QR code. These surveys can be taken on a phone or through text messages. Again, just a reminder to help with the number of responses and make sure you're getting a good quantity and quality is to let your community know that this survey is available. R277623, the board rule that helps oversee the school climate survey, recommends a minimum threshold for all your stakeholders and at least 35% of the population or 400 students, whichever is less. Just that way you can have a good survey of the student population. You also want to go and give it to every school in your LEA and ideally all your staff as well. Make sure you're determining a good time to administer the survey. A lot of when dealing with a successful survey is to make sure that you're avoiding high traffic issues. So for example, Mondays and Fridays in the spring, that's track. That could be a holiday. That could be a Good Friday. There's a lot of events, right, where sometimes half your school is gone. So that may not be the best day to administer the survey. If there's a major assembly, because of you're recognizing student performance or something, again, probably don't want to administer the survey that day. And right before or after spring break or Easter, you probably don't want to give the survey just in case students are being pulled out early or some staff are leaving a little bit early. Okay, thank you, Peter. I will make sure to do that. Also, to increase adult participation for the administering, if you're going to give that adult survey, you could give the survey out during parent-teacher night or your parent meetings. That way you can have all your parents there for the ones that do attend, besides just throwing the link into the parent portal. Also your staff development days, right? When you have your professional development days and everyone's in the building, that'd be a good time to have your staff answer that survey. You can also maybe increase student participation by administering at a designated time and class that all students are enrolled. So for example, does your school have a homeroom period or an advisory period? That would be a good time to administer the survey. Or most students have an English language arts class, and that one's pretty structured, so that might be a good time to take it or administer the survey. Again, just also again, be transparent, notify your stakeholders, use multiple avenues to increase that awareness and make sure they're just not caught unawares. So especially with how the environment is now around the school climate surveys, just want to make sure that we're doing our best to communicate and notifying parents what's going on in the school. Administer the survey. Proctoring a fully charged electronic device should be available for respondents who take the online survey in a comfortable setting with minimal distractions. Because again, this is going to be online based. So, you know, if you're providing it through Chromebooks, make sure they're all fully charged. There's enough outlets. The testing time. In the past, the adults took on average about 12 minutes, and student surveys for all grades was 8 to 13 minutes. You know, does this mean they answered every question? We can't say for sure, just because students are allowed to not answer a question if they feel like they don't want to answer a question. They can skip the questions. So these are just some of the stats that took us last time. I would budget at least from setting up to finishing about 30 minutes for the older groups. The younger groups may take a little longer. And speaking of those younger groups, things to consider, you know, what's their typing ability and computer knowledge? Really, it should be a lot of clicking. It shouldn't be as much typing, but what some LEAs did in the past was they put the link behind a school portal or their student email. And so the students actually had to log in and remember their password or whatever. So that kind of slowed some processes down. So if you're going to put it, you know, in a more secure location, then you'll need to make sure your teachers can support those students when they need to troubleshoot logging into their account. You know, also if your students become frustrated, you know, do you have some procedures in place to let them cool down? Or if, you know, if they finish early, what are procedures in place? Can they read a book, et cetera, et cetera? That way they're not distracting everybody else. So again, just kind of review, again, you're going to have to use an anonymous link to maintain full confidentiality of the survey. Respondents are allowed to skip questions. You also cannot provide an incentive for survey participation. That sounds a little silly, but this is actually now in code. So I think in the past, people are like, oh, pizza party. If everyone, whoever has the most participation, we get a pizza party. You cannot do that anymore. So just FYI on that, you cannot have any incentives for survey participation. You can only announce it and then administer. Be mindful of accommodations. So students with an IEP or 504 need to be accommodated as appropriate. Or again, what are you going to do for students who have opted out, right? And so making sure you're mindful of that option as well. So make sure, again, are they allowed to work on another assignment or something else? So some frequently asked questions that are typically encountered is, again, if you have any issues with your Qualtrics account, I can help troubleshoot a little bit, but if the main thing is you can't get into your Qualtrics account, you'll need to go to the Customer Success Hub that Nathan had initially shared in the beginning, because they're going to be the ones who can help create that user account or switch the brand administrator if you had some turnover.
Willie, if I could just jump in here for a second. If you have any issues here, for example, like any technical issue like Willie was saying, and you do go on the Qualtrics Success Hub, there is a chat bot, just so you know. Yes, AI is everywhere, unfortunately. To get past the chat bot, if you need an agent to help you, like a real person to help you with it, you just need to respond to the chat bot and say, this didn't answer my question, I need to talk to an agent, and then it'll redirect you to an agent so that you can either get on the phone with someone or open an email ticket. If you're having consistent issues, or like if there's an issue that isn't resolved after contact with the customer success hub team, like the support team, you can send me an email. And you can, when you submit a ticket, it'll give you a little ticket ID. And if you send me an email with that ticket ID, I can escalate it for you internally. I don't have any ability to, solve technical issues faster than that team. In fact, they have all the kind of permissions to be able to do technical changes. So please go to that team first, but I'm here to help escalate and advocate on your behalf. So just a couple background there.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. And I've also used the Qualtrics support before, and they're usually really responsive. And it's like you said, sometimes I know the chatbot's not going to answer my questions. I'll just type something to get it started, and then I pretty much almost immediately get someone to answer my questions, and they've been really, really helpful. But I think they also had an option where, like, leave your name and then we'll call you back if you can't actually be right there if your time availability is limited. So there's a callback option too. So it's been pretty good. If you had an issue with opening the QSF files, if you can stay for a little bit, because again, I've budgeted that in the entire 2 hours today, I'll try and help you. What may have happened is you downloaded it and then you tried to open the file. These QSF files aren't supposed to be opened. They're only supposed to be uploaded through your Qualtrics account. So that might be why you're having some issues here. And I'll go through this part with you if you have those issues. And here, I think, is the meat and potatoes of today that will probably interest you. And this is what's going to be a little different for this administration compared to last administration. Can you add questions? Yes. Y'all were able to last year too. But again, just a reminder, LEAs may add questions, but you're not supposed to remove, edit, or modify the current questions. So additional questions added by the LEA or you will not be seen by us. But, and this is part to where Peter was alluding to, and I think this is where I messed up earlier. You need to publish the survey to reflect any changes or additional questions. If you don't hit the publish button, no one's going to see those questions. So I'm actually going to demo this. I'm going to go back to the adults survey. And I think this was actually the exact issue. Y'all saw how I generated a response, but for some reason it didn't show up here. You'll notice, here's my mistake, as Peter pointed out. Do you see how this publish button is blue? That means I didn't publish this, and so that's why USB-E I didn't see my name in here. So great catch there, Peter. I apologize for also forgetting this. It's very easy to forget because it's way off on the other side of my screen. So what I'm going to do then is first, I'm going to demonstrate how to add a question. And then I'll actually click the publish button to show that. So you have a couple of ways to add questions to the survey. I think the most common question we got last time that now we are able to troubleshoot is, well, what school is this person answering from? So what I recommend you do for the adults version is if you want all the adults to see the question, this introduction box is where you would want to add it. So add new question. And the reason why I'm recommending this is you'll notice here that, oh, block 1 says common administrator, teacher, certified staff, classified staff, parent. So the adult survey has different questions that will pop up depending on which role they click. So if you want all these adults to answer the same question, such as, what school are you primarily located at, then you'll want to keep it here in the intro box here. So I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm going to leave it up to you which format you want. A lot of people want to default to the what was it? Text entry. I would caution against this option because I think, as a lot of you know, there are a lot of ways to spell Mountain View, Mountain School, Mountain Sky, Mountain Ridge. Did they put the words together or not? And so to reduce the error on, which schools there are, you would probably actually want you can offer a multiple choice option, or you can also offer where did it go? There's a drill down, right? So there's more information on this in Qualtrics, but if you have a CSV file where it has all your elementary schools, your middle schools, high schools, you can drag and drop this in, and then they can just click via those groupings. For the sake of today, I'll just say multiple choice. And say, what school are you primarily located at? Because we understand, right? Some parents may have 3 children at one school. If you have those situations, you'll obviously need to, let the parent know, choose the school that they are thinking of, keep that one school in mind and answer that survey. If it's for your staff, then which one do they primarily service would probably be better. Let's see, I have a question here. When there are staff that are also parents, will they need to fill out the email twice, or can they choose multiple roles? Okay, so that's a great question. So this survey was built with the intent of one role in mind. It's not supposed to do double duty. So yes, unfortunately, if someone's a parent and a staff member at the same time, so let's say you have a teacher who's also a parent, they should try and answer the survey as the teacher only if they're selecting I am a teacher. And then if they are willing to, then answer is the survey again as a parent. Obviously, that's not an ideal situation, but that's just how this survey was set up. So you might want to consult, which and advise your staff which do they think is more important. The parent side, is that where they really want to share their input, or as the teacher side, or both? We obviously hope for both, but we acknowledge people's time is limited. So I hope that answers your question, Jacob. That's a really good question. Unfortunately, we can't work around with that right now. You're welcome. So what school are you primarily located at? I'll say school 1, school 2. And you notice that the other reason why I might recommend the drill down option is if you have 80 schools like in Davis or Alpine, typing out 80 schools is going to be annoying. So you might want that drill down option. Okay. And then publish. I remember that now. It's published. You can copy that link. So I've published the survey. And so now what's going to happen is I'm just going to generate another test response. That way you can see the difference between me updating this question. So I'll let that go in the background. And oh, it looks like we have some people generating responses. I'm trying to keep track of all that at once. So let's see, I'm curious. What do we got so far? Okay. Well, we'll get there and confirm. I'll have to send that email out. So while this is going to just to show you that, so this is the way I recommend adding questions to at least the adults version, because you can also add specific questions per role. It's a little bit trickier, but it is doable. And so the way that would work is, and by the way, this process I just showed you, it's going to be the same for the student surveys. You just add that. But let's say you want to add a question that only the administrators are going to see. In the survey, there are these 4 blocks with these titles. Make it bigger here. Add administrator questions at the end. Add teacher questions at the end, or add parent questions. You would need to click these specific blocks, add that question in that block. That way only those roles would see that question. And you would still need to republish the survey and then notify me of those changes. So here's an example. Let's say I only want to ask a question for my administrators. I'm going to click the box that says add administrator questions at the end. I click add a new question, and then this is where I'm going to add that question. Like, how do you take care of your mental health? Or what are some, let's say you want to have an open text. Oh, thank you. That might be helpful. Okay, I will do that then. Thanks for that question. Okay. And then lastly, once you get the data, what you're going to do with it, you will use that data, review it from the survey to help revise your policies, practices, and trainings to eliminate harassment and discrimination.